What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. You know, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl actually sold fairly well, jumping up to right behind the Let's Go games after just a couple of months, and it is likely to outpace them. However, I don't think it's any secret that they have been overshadowed almost entirely by Pokémon Legends Arceus. Not only did that sell 6.5 million copies in just a few days, but the excitement and enthusiasm was undeniable. This is merely anecdotal, but when I went to pick up the game, the store had a line wrapping around that was still there once I reached the front of the counter. Whereas when I went to go get the Sinnoh remakes, I was the only one there. Furthermore, multiple people I know just now got a Switch to get this game, or at the very least chose it as one of their first options over all of the other great content the Switch has. So obviously there's something worthwhile here for the Pokemon Company to take notice of as we move on into Generation 9. So let's go through the top 6 aspects from Legends Arceus that need to carry on. Number 6. The setting. I don't mean the Hisui region in particular, even though I do love exploring all over the lands of what will become the Sinnoh region, but I think the ancient past is an angle that Pokemon can continue to utilize effectively. Pick any other region and there are legends and mysteries aplenty for us to go back in time and experience. I and many others have already laid out several options for these games set in the past, and truthfully there could be more than one per region, because here's the thing. It doesn't have to be the same time in the past. We could find ourselves in the group that first found the shores of the Alola region and see how the Tapus grew to become the Island Guardians. We could visit the Unova region when they were still colonies of Galar and see how they might have used Victini to secure their revolution for independence. But speaking of Galar, we could go hundreds of years before that and see the Valiant Knights when everything looked like Hammerlock, and maybe get some more information about the King of Bountiful Harvests. Plus, half the fun was just running around and meeting the ancestors of people that we know, so let's go see what Sabrina's great-great-great-grandmother's up to. Obviously, we've never seen anything like Legends Arceus from Pokemon before, which is what makes it such a breath of fresh air. So you might think that immediately jumping on doing much more of the same would make it grow stale even faster than standard Pokemon has, at least to the complaints of some. However, my point is, just because you might go to the past doesn't mean that it would even be remotely the same kind of setting. Or hey, maybe they'll do what so many other franchises are too scared to do and move into the far future, essentially giving us a Pokemon version of Astral Chain. Unless Legends Arceus is in the future. Well, that's a new theory to work on. Number 5. Crafting. This is a quick one, but I don't need the entire system. I don't think that it would even be feasible in a standard Pokemon game, at least for a while yet, where you collect up all the items from all over and then fashion them into something useful with your bare hands. Now, I wouldn't mind that, but I don't expect it. This is still Pokemon we're talking about after all. But I would specifically appreciate the ability to keep the upgrade system. You got a berry? Cool. You know what would be even cooler? A potion. Ah, but that potion's not cutting it anymore? Well, don't worry, you can turn it into a super potion. This in particular is invaluable as the game progresses so that your items can actually keep pace with you instead of becoming obsolete, only good for selling at a fraction of the price. I would really love for this to work with Pokeballs in a standard game, so that I could make a Pokeball into a Great Ball and so on, even if it just required a straight up fee out of my wallet instead of drawing on other items that I might have gathered. It works fine to stay as they are in Legends because you're hurling so many balls at a time, but in a more classic style, you really will need a higher caliber of Pokeball. But, speaking of, number 4, the Feather Ball. This might seem small, but it's actually pretty huge. New Pokeballs are rare, but can be tricky sometimes because you've got to come up with a way to make them different from what's come before, but not so different that it's basically useless. Obviously, so far in the past, Pokeballs would be different than they are in the present, and I did kind of expect to see Great Balls and Ultra Balls too, but the rest was wholly unexpected. The Pokeballs are heavily restricted compared to other games, but at the same time expanded. I was quite pleased when the Heavy Ball became so important to the region, since it is my favorite Pokeball, and it makes sense to have this variant to try and scoop up some more of the oversized targets that you might face without too much trouble. However, I was quite surprised when the Heavy Ball got great and ultra variations of its own with the Leaden Ball and the Gigaton Ball. But I say all this to highlight how phenomenal it was to have one extra trick up your sleeve with the Feather Ball. Having a Pokeball that flies straight and true can be a big help if you can't figure out the geometry of your arc, but it doesn't stop there. The Feather Ball and its subsequent upgrades, the Wing Ball and the Jet Ball, are described as being ideal for nimble Pokemon or those flying in the air, and I feel like this is the best way to carry it forward. Obviously, you don't aim your Pokeballs in the standard style, so making it effective for flying or floating Pokemon would be pretty perfect, and it would fill a niche that we don't yet have for Pokeballs. I would say that the name and design of the Wing Ball is probably the best to pull from going forward, but it's unusual to get new quality Pokeballs these days at all. The last one that we got was the Beast Ball from Generation 7, and before that it was the Dream Ball from Gen 5. So they have to know that they've got something good here, and will hopefully lift up the Wing Ball into the modern day. Number 3. Sizes. There are a number of little quirks that Pokemon can have to differentiate themselves from their peers. Even two of the same species caught in the same place can have different abilities and natures to make them varied in battle. But you stand them side by side and it can be hard to tell them apart. That's why it was such a simple stroke of genius for Pokemon Legends to implement size variations in the game, with the physical models of the Pokemon shrinking or growing seemingly at random when it spawned. I will admit, this did make me feel a little sad when I realized the Floatzel I was using was so tiny, but at the same time, getting to catch a massive Scyther and then evolve it into a gargantuan Kleavor to tower over me and everyone else was quite satisfying. Because that's another significant alteration in this game that would be great to see in the future with Alpha Pokemon. These are huge specimens that are much bigger than they have any right to be, but it's awesome to send out a giant Heracross or Lopunny. It makes you feel so much more powerful. It's also ridiculous when you can have a Pachirisu be taller than a Golduck, but that's just the kind of crazy, unpredictable world the Hisui region provides. And to the game's credit, it recognizes these differences, as when I showed off a comically large Combee in a side quest, the man said, "Oh, this must be one of those alphas I've heard about." I know they claimed to have sizes in Let's Go, but you could never really tell at a glance like you can here, and with the 3D models being the standard for Pokemon going forward, would it really be that hard to tweak them so that they can be slightly taller or shorter in Generation 9? Number 2. The environment. I'd be lying if I said I didn't love traveling all over the Hisui region and taking in the vast landscapes that it has to offer. My favorite was hands down the Crimson Mirelands, but I do think that the Cobalt Coastlands and the Alabaster Icelands were standouts too. But that's not really what I'm talking about so much. I mean, it would have been nice if the Galar region had some more of these settings instead of just 15 square feet of it in the wild area, but my main focus for this section is the environments in Pokemon battling. In Legends Arceus, if a wild Pokemon jumps out or spots you, all you have to do is toss out one of your Pokemon, and then the battle starts immediately. This is so different from even the games that came just a few months before, where every time you battle, you're whisked away to another screen where the world collapses into a tiny orb based on whatever biome you happen to be in. Here the battle happens exactly in the spot you threw your Pokemon, even affected by different elevations. You can still look around at all of the beautiful scenery that was there before. And if you want, you can just turn tail and run, and eventually the battle will just end because you went too far. Straying too far from a Pokemon battle has never even been possible before, but I would love to see it going forward. But even more impressive to me is how the Pokemon attacks affect the battlefield. It doesn't do lasting damage or anything, but if you get in the way, or even stray too close to your own Pokemon, you will get hit by the attack. Getting physically hurt by angry wild Pokemon really raises the stakes, and makes your positioning in your environment paramount, which is a pretty big responsibility for getting to do that on your own for the very first time. Number 1. The Pokemon Interface. The reason Pokemon is so popular over all of the other Monster Collection series is a certain charm that these particular creatures have, and from the very beginning we've always wanted to interact with them in more intimate ways. And we've had stuff like Pokemon Ami, I don't really mean that necessarily, although you can toss out your friends and talk to them whenever and wherever you like in this game, but the iterations they've made to the menu system is far more in-depth than ever before. Now, putting aside the fact that I wish your Pokemon team got its own menu, the fact that evolution is manual is so cool. Evolution is one of the main aspects of the Pokemon series, but this one minuscule change makes a huge impact. You could always press the B button, sure, but that gets pretty old after a dozen or so times if you would rather have a previous stage. I greatly appreciated having my shiny Ponyta staying its lovely blue self, because I don't really care for the way shiny Rapidash looks. And it's not that much trouble for someone to hit Evolve on a Pokemon that can, while it is a huge relief for Pokemon that are just fine the way they are. But even better than that is now when viewing your team, you can go into your Pokemon's moveset and alter their attacks whenever you want. Seriously, if you wanted, you could have 4 different moves every battle. That would be a lot of useless work, but it could be done. We thought that having a move tutor in every Pokemon Center was a great convenience, but now you can just do it yourself out in the wilderness. Get rid of all of those moves that you would never use for ones that are your favorites, and you can do so for free. No need to pay any money or even give over a heart scale or anything. This on top of the ability to upgrade your Pokemon's stats on command with all of the grit that you pick up off the ground makes the Pokemon menu more of a one-stop shop than ever. These amenities have undoubtedly spoiled us for the next time when there is not such ease of change included, and we will hear fans bemoan the good old days of the improved interface of the Hisui region. Look, I know that this game is not perfect. As beautiful as some of these scenes are, yes, I have seen the grass freak out when I stand on it in battle, and sometimes the Pokemon switch to their low-res models way too close to the player, but the truth of the matter is, there are a ton of great things that Legends has brought to Pokemon for the first time. And even as we lean back to the more familiar with Scarlet and Violet version, they have got to keep some of these features as the new standard in Pokemon. What lessons from Arceus do you want to see in Gen 9? Let me know down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time!